The conductor was never human, we just didn't see it. Walter had been a train engineer for nearly 40 years. He was the kind of man who blended into the machinery, whose presence hummed in the background like low voltage. He arrived before everyone else, left after they were gone, and knew the locomotive like a surgeon knows skin and sinew. Colleagues respected him, though no one got close. He rarely smiled, often stared too long at nothing in particular, and turned down every vacation with the same line: the train runs smoother when I'm near. At first it was just the sound, a slight echo out of sync. A whistle pitched too high, the rails humming in patterns that felt too personal. He thought it was just fatigue, an old man's nerves. But over time, the sounds sharpened. They spoke, not in commands, but in suggestions, gentle, persuasive, intimate. They told him who didn't belong on board and who wasn't real. One night, walking his usual midnight rounds, he paused outside cabin 6. The man inside looked wrong. His face was blurred, expression vacant, like a passenger photoshopped into reality. The voice whispered clearly he shouldn't go any further. Walter didn't feel fear, just a strange sense of purpose, like a long-delayed instinct kicking in. He opened the door and sat across from the man, who slept without stirring. Then, with quiet precision, Walter looped his belt around the man's throat and pulled. The body convulsed. Stilled, nothing else, no resistance, no sound. As if the train itself muffled the moment, Walter stared down at the body and wondered, not if he had gone too far, but if this was only the beginning. After that, it became routine. He went for sleepers first, as they were easy, quiet, and forgettable. If they stirred, he drugged them with industrial-grade chemicals borrowed from the maintenance kit. One man woke mid-process. Walter broke his skull against the cabin wall, again and again, until the screams stopped. The cleanup took hours. The voices were pleased. They said heat meant life, brains meant value. They praised his precision. At first he counted 5, 10, 15. Then he stopped counting. He would lock in some passengers in an empty car. He would feed them and watch them. One wept, one prayed. One begged to be killed. Walter complied one by one. He took no pleasure in it. He simply understood the necessity. One night he entered a carriage where a family was seated. A mother, a father, 2 children. He stood in the doorway for a while, gripping a sledgehammer in both hands, watching them. The father slowly rose and stepped in front of the children, shielding them with his body. Walter said, "You're obstructing the route." Then he did what had to be done. The mother screamed once. The children stayed silent. He didn't touch them. He simply closed the door to their compartment, locked it, and walked away, listening to the sound of their fingernails scratching at the glass. The train made no protest. It kept moving forward. Walter knew that someday all the doors would open, that he would find himself bound on the floor, beneath the groaning weight of the wheels, staring into the train's eyes, not through a mirror, not through the windshield, but directly. He wasn't afraid of pain or death. What terrified him was the thought of seeing himself in those eyes. The man he had become, or the one he had always been. There were favorites. People he didn't kill right away, people he studied, touched, not sexually, rather emotionally, mechanically, as if he was learning how they worked, how they broke. A woman once asked him, "Why me?" He simply said, "Because you're here and they want you." He didn't lie. That was reason enough. He no longer saw it as murder. It was maintenance, a sacred duty. The train demanded balance, and balance required sacrifice. His hands stopped trembling. His thoughts arrived pre-packaged, like timetables from an invisible station. He no longer heard the train's engines. He heard its breathing, and sometimes, its laughter. He began skipping stations, departing without permission. Manifest errors went unnoticed. Missing persons got buried in bureaucracy. Those who tried to question him were met with silence. After all, the real conversations now happened within, with them. Sometimes, late at night, he caught glimpses of his own reflection, only it wasn't his. Not anymore. Rust around the eyes, oil stains in the shape of teeth. A face like a memory of a face, rebuilt from spare parts and static. When the company tried to forcibly retire him, he didn't protest. He simply vanished into the depot and found an engine long out of service. No name, no route. She started like she missed him. He pulled her onto the tracks and let instinct lead, or prophecy, or whatever now lived beneath the rails. That night, all signals failed. Cameras cut out, the train disappeared. Hours later, one message blinked onto the dispatcher's screen: next stop off schedule. He was never seen again, but sometimes on deadlines. In the middle of nowhere, conductors report hearing a whistle in the fog, low. Endless, wrong. And those who fall asleep on late-night platforms sometimes wake in a carriage with no windows. No exits, just flickering lights and the soft clank of boots in the corridor. They say the conductor walks alone, no face, no voice, only eyes, glowing faintly like lanterns drowned in oil. No one knows where the train comes from. But all agree on one thing: as long as it moves, it only takes one. If it ever stops, it will take us all. If you enjoyed the story, consider subscribing. But don't blame me if you can't sleep tonight. Until next time, keep the lights on and the doors locked. Goodbye.